I hope nothing slows down the US stock market. For the past 15 years, US stock markets looked pretty untouchable. Got wars, inflation, interest rate hikes, debt, even a pandemic, and things just kept climbing. The S&P 500's gone up nearly 5 times since 2009. But there's a book, This Time is Different by Reinhart and Rogoff. And basically, it says long runs of good times make us all forget that there are bad times that are all a big part of the cycle we're dealing with. So the market has been resilient, but there's some stuff that can shake it. There's an illusion of safety with delay. When something big happens, like new tariffs or a Federal Reserve fight or a tech bubble, markets usually freak out. And then they calm down because nothing collapses right away. It's like touching a stove that's cooling down. You think it's fine till it's not. And that's where tariffs kind of come into play. Right now, the economy hasn't felt the cost of all these new trade barriers. Businesses out there are still trying to figure out where to move factories, how to handle supply chains, and whether it's worth investing in uncertain conditions right now. All of those choices take time. The pain of tariffs is slow motion economics. And then there's artificial intelligence. That's the new engine of growth that we're dealing with. Massive data centers, chips, cloud spending that's created a mini industrial boom. You got companies like Microsoft and Amazon and Alphabet. You can call them hyperscalers. They're driving a lot of the stock market's rise. But that also means if artificial intelligence spending slows, it's not just a tech story, it could ripple across construction and manufacturing and energy. If artificial intelligence stops growing, the economy loses one of its strongest growth engines. Then you've got the Federal Reserve. If there's a Next up, you've got the Federal Reserve showdown. If something happens politically, if the Fed loses its credibility, let's say because political fights over leadership start to undermine the Federal Reserve's independence, markets could actually panic. Investors think that the Federal Reserve is the adult in the room. They're steering inflation and rates with a pretty steady hand, so they're avoiding problems. But if investors believe crack, interest rates could jump, confidence could fall, and everything built on cheap money starts to wobble a lot. Then you've got the loss of immigrant labor. So for decades, immigration kept America's workforce young and flexible. Immigrants filled crucial jobs, they started businesses, and they help balance an aging population here. But now, with fewer immigrants coming in, the US could face the same slow growth trap that hit Europe and Japan's economies. And that means lower productivity, slower growth, and maybe a lot more pressure on wages and on inflation. Morgan Stanley called this the end of American exceptionalism. Since 2009, the US market has massively outperformed the rest of the world, and that's good for us. But that gap could be closing. As global interest rates start to catch up and the dollar weakens, investors might move their money abroad, chasing better returns elsewhere. And we're seeing that. Finally, there's a wealth effect. When stocks go up, investors feel wealthier and they spend more money. But most of that spending comes from the top 10% of earners who now make up almost half of US spending out there. That's a record for US consumption. The danger is if the market falls now, so does their spending. And since consumer spending is 2/3 of our economy, you have a big sudden stock market crash that hits Main Street hard because spending comes down. So it's not just Wall Street. So what could all screw everything up? I don't know. It's not going to be one big event. It could be a slow combination of things. Tariffs could raise costs. AI investment could cool off. You could have fewer workers, Federal Reserve uncertainty, and shrinking global dominance. Each one chips away at the endless resilience we have in America. So the book of Reinhart and Rogoff is still holding. Every era thinks it's different until it's not. The question isn't if the cycle turns. It's when we all finally remember that it does. And then it happens, unfortunately, it happens pretty quickly. Have a nice weekend.